Okay, welcome to Seward Soundward. It's a brand new episode here on this beautiful April day. Always happy to be in the studio. Um, Alaska writers reading their work live on the air. I'm your host, Sean Ullman, and happy to have a guest with me today is Katherine Haghighi. Katherine, how you doing?
I'm great.
All
Thank
right.
you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So Katherine and I love a lot of things about this show, but a really cool thing now is we are meeting for the first time to do the show. We met through the Trail Mix Journal, through emails and, exchanging writing, your writing that I was reading over, making little edits, what have you. And that was a really fun experience to do together. And now for the second time, Rosie Frankowski, and now here with you, we get to meet on the show. So really cool to bring those two things together. Katherine is going to share with you her piece she wrote about the Trail of Blue Ice, which I had never hiked, but now I really want to. So she wrote a poem and then wrote the story behind the poem, which I think is a really cool concept. Like a lot of times we read poems and it's like, cool, like it just hits you, and then you wonder like, where'd that come from? So to kind of get so you're going to get that here today, which I think is pretty cool. And then Katherine also recently published a book called The Inner Landscapes of Grief. Really looking forward to hearing all about this process. I know it involved being at the botanical garden and writing there. I know there's photography involved. Sounds like a really cool project. So we've got a full slate here of Katherine Haghighi's work. So I will pass it to you, Katherine, and thanks again.
Yeah. Well, I have to thank you, actually, Sean, because I think the opportunity to hike a trail in some specified area and reflect on it is probably something most people that live in Alaska do at some point or another when they're living here. But then to kind of intentionally go forward with a project like what Trail Mix offers is, I think that's really special because it kind of brings the community into it and then encourages people to go out. Onto trails maybe they have been on before, but look at it in a new way or something new.
That's the hope, and I really like where the project's going. Getting emails from people I haven't met with interest just brings a smile to my face, and yours did. And to take that reflection deeper, right? Like this is what we can do with writing. Like you go on a trail, you love it, you want to go back to it, but now you're going to work on a piece that you're going to share. You're going to get to some levels, which you certainly did. So
great experience.
Great to hear.
Mm-hmm. So today I'll be sharing Words for the Hiker, which came out of hiking the Trail of Blue Ice, which I think is an intriguing trail because it's a very accessible trail for people. And each time that I've done it, it speaks to me a little differently.
Cool.
Yeah. So on this September day, this is my impressions of that trail. Words for the hiker. Your footsteps are a rhythmic heartbeat, a pattern similar to many, but one of a kind. A theme that differs in each place it is played. A symphony that accompanies the earth's progression. A music that only the universe understands. Your measures fill in the rests that have appeared along the path. They seem more frequent as the atmosphere cools. Steps are louder in this gelid air, heard almost like an exhaled breath is seen, lingering a moment longer, not quite an echo. Your eyes soak in the color before it sleeps. Blues brush the water, the mountains, the glaciers, the horizon, the sky, the moon. Each blink frames a story, centuries old or just now new. Tales tickle the inward eye, filling in where more ice once rested, where stone was shaved flat, and where water smoothed rough edges. Your heart keeps its pace, counterpoint to your step, the contrast emphasized by wind whirling leaves across the ground. For it is here the post-glacial rebound lifts your feet, reminding you to return from where you came before light slips down. And as you do, The trail of blue ice gifts you again with a whole new symphony.
Nice. Great stuff. Yeah. A lot of music. And, that poem, Catherine's whole piece, is up on the KMTA website under the Trail Mix Journal. So, a lot of times you get hit with a poem like, ooh, I like that. I want to check that out. You can go check it out. It's up. It'll be up. So,
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really nice to hear you read that. That's kind of completes the picture, as I work, it's nice to revisit that. And yeah. So then you wrote a little essay story kind of, behind the finding of this poem, the creation of this poem, where this poem came from.
Right.
And that was kind of, I think it's the first trail mix piece like this where you get the duality and you can kind of get, two ways to look at this trail and the art it can bring, the inspiration, how it moves us, how it moved you. I like how you use you in there too, kind of bringing in the hiker. That's kind of a nice use of the second person. Gifts you again.
Thank you.
This trail has given you a lot. This trail is in Portage.
Yes.
Which I guess I think it's in, you do say here, but I don't know. Thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is in Portage, and you can kind of access it on either end, right?
Cool.
Where the Seward Highway turns off for Portage Road.
Yeah.
There is one end, and then, or you can drive all the way down to the Glacier Visitor Center, park there, and then take it the opposite way up.
Cool.
So,
yeah.
And there's also several pull-offs where you can kind of join it at any point if you just wanted to do.
Very accessible. Not a crazy steep mountain, No,
not at all. And much of it is paved. Not all of it, but much of it is.
Right.
So, I mean, it's even wheelchair accessible,
awesome.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And because you can do it in short spurts, you could do even just 20 minutes, a half hour. If
you're
traveling through to go, or to come here to Seward, or even to go into Whittier, you can do it on your way.
Yeah, just hop in there quick, get a little nature.
Absolutely.
Some ice.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
So, there were, in addition to the poem, these extra prose just about it and about where words for the hiker came from at your prompting, actually. So thank you.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, I saw potential and I threw it out there.
No, I appreciate it because it really kind of pushed me to thinking like, wow, there is always a story, right? Behind where a poem comes from. And also, how do you see that later?
Right.
How do you reflect on that?
Yeah.
So, yes. So this is what came around that. I have my go-to trails. I'm sure you do too. The ones we hike by default. Close to home, perfect amount of time, the terrain we want. Good in most weather, familiar, comforting. They speak to us. They lure us. They are ours. And then there are the trails we hike occasionally with a certain person or for the first time. Those are approached a bit differently, maybe, with more preparation or attentiveness, awareness or openness. They may require a longer drive and more time, be more accessible in certain types of weather, or require different equipment. They're less familiar. They may even cause discomfort. For me, the Trail of Blue Ice was familiar, but I had not hiked it for many years and never with my husband. It had been on my mind. I don't know why, really, except that I knew Doug would like it. On the last Friday in September, Doug got home from work earlier than usual. This never happens, ever. I noticed the time of day when the front door opened. Gears started turning in my head. All week, we talked about taking a hike. Not a go-to trail, but somewhere else. It was cold, but clear, and the roads were dry. This was good news. We sat down to an early daylight dinner, the sun streaming in through streaky windows. We crunched on crispy salad and reheated pepperoni pizza just to get full. We looked up the expected time for sunset. We looked at each other. We could do it. We left. The drive to Portage was divine. The water mirrored everything. Clouds, mountains, snow, and ice were all doubled. We arrived at the parking lot, prepared our hats and gloves for the start, and took the obligatory trailhead photo by the sign. The wind wasn't strong, but that could change. It would no doubt get colder as the light left. There would not be many people around. There were only 2 empty cars in the parking lot and a Discover America RV. They were definitely cooking dinner. The chef stood in front of the yellow lit window, stirring something in a pot. We set off, knowing we would finish in the dark. That wasn't said, nor intended, nor ideal, but both of us just knew. Stones crunched under our shoes. We kept walking. Maybe it was the shift in sound from the stones to the paved trail that announced a clear rhythm to our stride. Our pace stayed consistent to make good time. Eyes high, we drew in the mountains and glaciers, inhaling the smell of wet leaves and evergreen needles underfoot. I didn't breathe in too deeply. Not because I didn't want to, but because my nose hair was getting too frosty from the cold. It almost hurt. We didn't talk unless we wanted to point something out. A camper on the lake, a muddy place on the trail, moose prints, dog prints, an eagle, a frosted mushroom, the color of the sky, the approaching restroom just in case, the area where the girls planted trees on Earth Day 15 years ago with Girl Scouts. This trail has no right or wrong way. It is easy and accessible. It's partly paved and clearly defined. It is full of eye candy, westbound and eastbound. It is also a place of tremendous energy. Maybe it was just finishing the trail in the dark, or the communal feeling that comes from walking where so many others have also trod. But we had changed upon our return. I know many hikers could say that happens on every trail. Maybe so.
Can you start that over? I'm going to have to download this and edit this.
Yeah.
I forgot about this radio. Can you just start out off that passage again?
Oh, yeah.
As
Yeah.
though nothing had happened.
Yeah, as though nothing had happened.
Yeah, we rewrite. Okay.
Just that, that paragraph, eh?
Maybe the whole. Why don't we reread
The
the?
words for hiker? Or
Yeah, I think
the
so.
prose? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice focus there. You read really well.
I was really worried about this person.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for bearing with us here. We're gonna Catherine's gonna start over
No
the
problem.
words to go with, and
Okay.
I'm sure you'll read it splendidly again, and we'll carry on.
Okay.
Thank you. Show
So-
goes on.
Show goes on.
Yeah.
Words about the poem. Words for the hiker. I have many go-to trails. I'm sure you do too. You know, the ones we hike by default. Close to home, the perfect amount of time, terrain we want, good in most weather, familiar, comforting. They speak to us, lure us. They're ours. And then there are the trails we hike occasionally with a certain person or for the first time. Those are approached a bit differently, maybe, with more preparation or attentiveness, awareness or openness. They may require a longer drive and more time, be more accessible in certain types of weather, or require different equipment. Less familiar, they may even cause discomfort. For me, the Trail of Blue Ice was familiar, but I had not hiked it for many years and never with my husband. It had been on my mind. I don't know why, really, except that I knew Doug would like it. On the last Friday in September, Doug got home from work earlier than usual. This never happens, ever. I noticed the time of day when the front door opened. Gears started turning in my head. All week we talked about taking a hike. Not a go-to trail, but somewhere else. It was cold, but clear, and the roads were dry. This was good news. We sat down to an early daylit dinner, the sun streaming in through streaky windows. We crunched on crispy salad and reheated pepperoni pizza just to get full. We looked up, the expected time for sunset, and we looked at each other. We could do it. We left. The drive to Portage was divine. The water mirrored everything. clouds, mountains, snow, and ice were all doubled. We arrived at the parking lot, prepared our hats and gloves for the start, and took the obligatory trailhead photo by the sign. The wind wasn't strong, but that could change. It would no doubt get colder as the light left. There would not be many people around. There were only 2 empty cars in the parking lot and the Discover America RV. They were definitely cooking dinner. The chef stood in front of the yellow lit window, stirring something in a pot. We set off, knowing we could finish in the dark. That wasn't said, nor intended, nor ideal. We both just knew. Stones crunched under our shoes. We kept walking. Maybe it was the shift in sound from the stones to the paved trail that announced a clear rhythm to our stride. Our pace stayed consistent to make good time. Eyes high, we drew in the mountains and glaciers, inhaling the smell of wet leaves and evergreen needles underfoot. I didn't breathe in too deeply, not because I didn't want to, but because my nose hair was getting too frosty from the cold. It almost hurt. We didn't talk unless we wanted to point something out. A camper on the lake, a muddy place in the trail, moose prints, dog prints, an eagle, a frosted mushroom, the color of the sky, the approaching restroom just in case. The area where the girls planted trees on Earth Day 15 years ago with Girl Scouts. This trail has no right or wrong way. It is easy and accessible. It is partly paved and clearly defined. It is full of eye candy, westbound and eastbound. And it's also a place of tremendous energy. Maybe it was finishing the trail in the dark, or the communal feeling that comes from walking where so many others have also trod, but we had changed upon our return. I know many hikers could say that happens on every trail. Maybe so. But that night, the energy was different. There was music there. We didn't hear it. We were part of it. The kind that only happens when we allow ourselves to tune into the frequencies of this vast land we call home. A natural symphony of sorts. After that evening, 2 months passed by that were filled with a whole lot of unexpected life. The hike was a salve through tests, diagnoses, surgery, and caregiving for my husband. It was comforting. It was grand. It was wonder. I intended to capture it, but hadn't yet figured out how. And when I finally sat down to write, recalling the experience in my mind, words for the hiker emerged describing a magical music created in tandem with the universe.
Nice. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, he got a little rehearsal there, but yeah, beautiful. And really glad that you added that piece. I think it, the words for the hiker is a poem that puts you there, and that's an experience for the hiker for sure. This gives you more, I feel like I could take a little hike just by reading this. Maybe you can't get out that day. It's like, well, look at trail mix and read this, and kind of you put the reader right there. Sensory details, I probably mentioned my editing, like, a lot of my editing is like, I like this is good, this is, but just hearing, you're really good at those. Like sight, I think, is the obvious one, but even those you do well with, like the details of the light coming in through the window, and then the yellow. I love that detail. I'm going to get back to sensory details, but I remember reading this like, oh, that's interesting to have that in there. The camper, the Discovery, 2 cars there, and a Discovery America camper, and the yellow lit window, and they're cooking dinner. And I really like that that's in there, but just to capture, like, there's not a lot of people here. Let's say someone reading outside Alaska, like oftentimes hiking areas are pretty crowded, in September. So just be like, there's only 2 vehicles here. It's very quiet. And, you get this little, you don't want to go, this little glimpse of, some vacationers cooking dinner, like very nice. Like you can almost like imagine being there. So it's a neat kind of detail that you could easily not have, but I like, I think it's kind of neat that that's in there. Anyway, back to sensory details as I just start talking fast and what have you. But like, the stones crunch, the shift in sounds. Sound was in the poem as well. You're big on sound. It seems like you are a musician. I think I've gathered as well. So that's going to be there. But the sounds are so great to have in writing. And so you're always there. And then inhaling the wet leaves and evergreen needles, that smell. And then even touch when you take it to like the frost, nose hair, frosty, like you can really. So these are real, like just visceral details that really help place us there. Yeah. And I remember reading this, like the girls planted trees on earth. That lovely little detail, like just subtlety. God, these are your daughters. Like as I kind of, but just you don't need to explain that. The focus stays on the trail. You have a really nice, just kind of through line through this whole piece where you get these little details to kind of wonder, but nope, here we go. We're still moving on the hike. And then the ending is fantastic. You really zoom out and make it pretty powerful. And I love that line about, the communal feeling that you share with everyone else who has walked this trail. What a concept, if you kind of get a sense of like everyone who hikes a certain trail, that's a group of people and they're not going to meet each other, but you have that in common. Yeah. Right, and so to kind of like imagine that, I think there is an energy there, which is pretty cool. And this idea of, there was music there, but we didn't hear it. That's a really cool line. Yeah. So lovely piece. It's up on the KMTA website on the Trail Mix Journal. You could revisit that and you could get inspired to write about one of your trails that speaks to you, and get in touch with me on my email, seanwoolman@gmail.com, and we can go forward to publish your piece about a trail. This is a project that I'm really excited. Every time, I think we're up to like 6 or 7, and every single contribution has really helped shape the vision of what it is, because they provide these examples. Originally I was thinking no poetry, and then we had Emily Mailman submit a poem. I'm like, this is great. Yes, poetry. So it's really the contributors and the writers who are shaping this project, and it can go a lot of ways. We're just trying to really celebrate all these beautiful trails we have and get the word out a bit, entice people to go on a trail, to learn more about it, or to just sit and kind of go on the trail right there with the writer, get that experience and the goods of nature right there, just reading, as reading can do that. Yeah. So thank you. This is Seward Soundwords. We're back. Katherine Haghighi is here from Anchorage. We're on 91.7 KIBH FM Seward, and we are on our YouTube channel at Sacktown. And this is great. Shall we shift to the book, or is there more you want to talk about? I'll pass to you.
I just want to say one thing about Trail Mix.
Yeah.
Just looking at it myself before writing anything.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's really, the project is awesome because it takes you. It does take you to where people are.
Right.
And some of it you can't imagine. Like I can't imagine running Resurrection Path,
right,
like Rosie did.
Right. Me neither.
Can't imagine.
Yeah.
But I love reading about her experience of it. But the cool thing is you get this sense of a trail, no matter what kind they are, because everyone's done different ones, right?
Yeah.
There's not been any repeats yet, huh?
Not yet. Okay. But we can do that. So if you see one like, oh, they already wrote about Res Pass, like I know there's a Res Pass in the works. Fred Moore has a really good one coming in. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So you get the sense of the trail and kind of the trail's voice, but then you hear the writer's voice.
Yeah.
And their response to that experience. And I love the duality of that. And I think it's just a great project for people to get involved in, because it does expose the trail to more people that might not know about it, or where to go, or how hard is it, and all of those types of things. And they start looking it up, like, where can I go?
Yeah. Or I've done that trail, or it's been years. Wow, I never looked like that.
Right.
What's really come through, what, your piece got at and others, is like the personal, that idea of like, it's not just a trail guide, of like, here's what you're going to see. Here's how, here's the mileage, can be some of that. And I think I had that. I didn't really know at first. I just thought it's fun to write about trails. If everybody has that favorite trail, and, so like they're going to, or a good story that happened on the trail. But there's been a lot of just sharing and like personal essay, because I think these times in these places can be powerful, and there's just we go to them, when we're struggling, go to them when we're feeling great, go to them when I'm working on a project, go to the, it's just, we are lucky here.
We are very
to have so much natural spaces and trails to access. I mean, you can do it for a lifetime and never run out of new trails.
That's right.
So
you are spot on.
Yeah. So I just thought, this will be fun. I think people will dig this, and I don't know. I know a lot of runners, hikers, writers. I was like, yeah. I thought there would be more by now, but I'm cool. I think it's gonna keep building, and
Oh yeah,
over
and
the
you're getting
years
the
we're gonna
word
have
out,
doing
and the
stuff
more
like
it gets
this. Yeah,
out,
yeah.
the better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's got a bright
absolutely.
future. It's been great working with KMTA. They do a great job. A lot of excitement kind of when we launched it, and the layout and all the technical details have been really cool.
That's great.
Nice that I don't do that. But it's neat that the writer, provides photographs, or you can do art. So you had some nice photos. So it's a really chance to kind of, put words and pictures together.
Yes.
And maybe that could be a little transition as we go to this. And we'll talk about other things you want to talk about, but I want to hear about this book.
Yes, absolutely.
So the name of this book is The Inner Landscapes of Grief by Katherine Haghighi, who's sitting here right next to me if you're just tuning in. And this just came out.
Yes, April 1st.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have you published other books?
No, I have not.
Okay.
No. And this came out of a artist in residency project at the Alaska Botanical Garden, which was a phenomenal experience.
Mm-hmm.
So last June, I was there for the month. They have usually an artist will spend a month, and they usually have someone June, July, August. And in the past, they've also done February.
Cool.
There at the garden. And most had been visual artists.
Yeah.
And some amazing things come out of people's work there. And I proposed having a writer and a project that kind of paired two things. One, my background's in hospice care.
Right.
And I'm a music therapist who worked in hospice care for quite a long time. And so grief and loss is something I'm very comfortable with, and I've written other things about, and more professional journal type things. But I've also been very struck and keep reading over and over again the work of Rockwell Kent, who spent time here on Fox Island.
Yeah.
And his whole, progression from I'm this artist who's coming to a land, back at the turn of the century.
Right. Yeah.
Not quite, but almost back all the way.
Yeah.
And his progression of thinking, I'm going to learn a lot and live on the land myself, and take it in through my art. But he really came to this conclusion that these inner landscapes of his own person and self.
That's right. Yeah.
Speaking louder to him even than the outer landscape. Like initially it was the outer landscape, but then he really was looking inward after his time here.
Yeah, that comes through in the journals there.
Yeah. So it was kind of a pairing of both of those things. I had intended to write specifically about the boreal forest because the Alaska Botanical Garden is surrounded by the forest. And it really turned into more about the actual garden within the boreal forest. And so the subtitle is A Lyrical Exploration of a Garden Within the Boreal Forest for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
The writing really shifted to being within the walls of the garden.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice to be kind of ready for whatever. Like you have an idea of maybe how to start. Like I'm going to say I have the kind of first thing I maybe want to write, but I'm just going to be ready to kind of listen and respond and just see what comes of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what hours were you there?
Different hours of the day, but
Gotcha.
but throughout the whole month, I
there.
went, and sometimes I was there for 5 hours. Sometimes I was there for 2 hours. Just depended.
Taking walks, sitting around writing.
Yeah, I walked all of the shorter trails within the garden, and then there's a few of the larger nature trails throughout the whole property. There's 110 acres there.
Oh wow!
So much of that is in the boreal forest, and what happened was I started just finding places to sit and write.
Yeah.
Or I would take little notes as I was walking along the trail, and I'd sit back in that space at some point. And I started to, just for my own memory, take photographs of where I was or what I was seeing and the light, and so I could remember things better when I went back to edit. Yeah, but never intending to use them for anything except for my own memory. But then at the end of that month, the artist is requested to do a public engagement piece. And the photographs were really speaking loudly with the work.
Yeah.
So I blew them up into huge posters to present within the green there at the end of our walk.
Cool.
We walked throughout the garden and I read pieces from different places where they were written. And then when people were asking for the writing, but then they wanted to buy the photographs, and I was really shocked. I was surprised by that, how touching those were. And so I decided to put them together into this book, so that people could have what they heard on that that day.
Cool. Yeah, I read a little bit about you walking around reading pieces like where you wrote them. I mean, that's so powerful. I love that.
Yeah.
So the book, when you started this residency, you weren't like, I'm going to write a book.
No, what I thought I was going to do was to write a booklet about the Boreal forest,
right?
And what experience is that hanging out in the Boreal forest for a month? You know, what do you see? What do you learn? Specifically to grief. I mean, I knew I was kind of had that grief and loss bend.
Yeah. That fits with the forest.
But it turned out really much differently,
cool.
In a great way.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Yeah. Wow. Learned a lot, got an object book out of it for people to experience. So that's some really good stuff. Could you read a piece from this?
Sure.
And then we can kind of go on, because I think there's a lot here. I haven't even looked at it, but glancing at it now, really cool setup. We got some
so
big photos.
So the way that it's laid out is every spread has a photo on the left-hand side,
right.
And then
I can do a little bit of this for the
and then a piece of prose or a piece of poetry on the right-hand side. And
has this program been going on for a long time?
I know it's been going on for a few years.
And then where is the botanical garden? Is that near Anchorage?
It is within Anchorage city limits. It is at the corner of Tudor and Campbell Airstrip Road.
Cool.
Right by Benny Benson High School.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's 110 acres. And, you know, I one of the things that I learned while I was there was how many visitors this place gets. You have so many people from out of town come to, probably more people than Alaskans go to the garden.
It's on the
specifically
map
to see it. And they have a great shuttle service from downtown, but many international visitors make gardens part of their travel.
Yeah, when I travel, you know, that's like you want to try to do that. You
Absolutely.
know, like been to some.
Yeah.
Did that interrupt your work or like come into play, or is there ever any conversations you
there were
had?
lots
I mean, you're
of
doing your thing, like
there were some great
writing and listening to nature, but I imagine you got a lot of people around at times. I mean, you got to these spots where it's just you and 110 acres.
Had a lot of solitude. Yeah,
that's kind of an interesting aspect.
But there were a lot of conversations with people that were visiting from different countries, people that go there regularly, like it's their weekly place. Yeah. You know, or they come after work. Their go-to place. There's a children's camp that goes on there in the summer. So lots of conversations with kids. We did do a poetry project with the kids, making their own poetry sticks. So lots of conversations, and including a really interesting one. There was a writer that came to the garden one day. On the first day that I was there, actually, he wrote a book called Garden Tourism. Originally from England and living in Connecticut now, and he travels to visit gardens all over the world. Cool. And talks about how gardens are a form of tourism for many people, especially internationally. And so lots of great conversations and getting to know what happens there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I suppose, you know, you get to see the native plants of a place. You know, that's a whole way to, like, some people want to see birds, you know, if you want to see, and just you're going to be in a beautiful place that's been taken care of and set aside. And absolutely. And it's in its own unique way. I mean, of course, every garden presents itself in a different way with whatever is native to the area. And I think one really neat aspect of our garden is that they do make their own soil there. Cool. And that's a whole project going on behind the scenes. Yeah. And so there's lots to learn about our own landscape there. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'd love to hear, you know. All right. A couple pieces, whatever you want to read. Right. I could see why people responded to the photos. These are great. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. It's obviously a bit of a hobby for you. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Now it is.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Now it is. Yeah. I'll read at the beginning of one of the trails, the Verna Pratt Wildflower Trail in the garden. There is a kind of a surprise as you walk down that wildflower trail.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
We do those.
Spoiler alert. But there's a huge rock that just kind of seems out of place. And so there's no doubt that this rock is talking to you.
Right. Nice.
So I walked on that trail and spent some time with it. So this piece is called Glacier Erratic. I am a glacier erratic, left here by the ice that surrounded me. I have not moved for years. I was deposited, left, abandoned. I realize I look out of place. I am huge. And it's amazing, really, that I don't have any others around me close by. I mean, some places have boulder after boulder, but I'm more like a surprise. Walk down the wildflower path and oops, here I am. I am lucky though. Look at me. I am taller than some of you. Kids want to climb me but can't. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. And I get to show you what beauty can come out of a hard place. I mean, look at me. All kinds of things grow on me. I handle the weather very well. I keep things cool. Because of my name, people expect me to be erratic, like the adjective, not even or regular in pattern or movement, like erratic breathing or erratic movement. And let's be real, erratic behavior. I am the noun erratic, a boulder that differs from any around it that is believed to have been brought by a distance through glacial action. That's right, glacial action, people. The earth was moving for me, and it moves for you too. You just don't notice it. Slow down, take a breath, walk around, move at a glacial pace.
Nice. That's pretty cool to bring a rock alive, boulder like that right away. I am a glacial erratic. And you give it some attitude, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
I mean, a rock has to have some attitude. Yeah. It doesn't get to move around very well.
Glacial action, people. And that play on erratic is cool. The noun erratic. That's kind of a nice line as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why, and so you could see how that one was written. Here you are with the flowers, maybe on a different track. You're suddenly, here's this
big
huge boulder. Only one by itself. Like, why is this here?
Right.
I'm going to write about it.
Why is this here?
Yeah.
And there's a lovely, as there are many in the garden, there's a lovely placard that says, this is a glacial erratic.
Cool.
And that's what this is, to educate people that are coming through. But what if that glacial erratic had a voice?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I see. I'm on like a children's book wavelength these days. I've been having a lot of fun doing that, and I could see like a story, like a rock character would be pretty cool. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Take it.
There's another one in here that kind of takes that same
titles are cool.
Voice, which is Bent Tree, which is close to the end.
Okay.
And you walk into the Alaska Botanical Garden, and people take different paths first or second. They kind of have a way they go.
There's no main.
There's a main walk in, and then you can go left, you can go right, you can go straight.
Choose your own,
so they're kind of scattered all throughout. But one other area that has educational posting is called Bent Tree, and it is a bent tree that clearly looks bent. And he also had a voice.
Okay. You heard it.
Yeah. So
put it in the book.
This is it. Bent tree. I am bent on purpose. It didn't happen all of a sudden. I didn't know it was going to happen. You see, I had to be a certain size and in a certain place and needed by certain people. I grew as I was supposed to until I was shaped by humans. contained, tied, and restricted for just long enough that I could be of service. I guide people to water or food or to the special place they need to find. I haven't been there, so I don't know. But when those that are seeking see me, they know the direction to walk. Their eyes see me, and they continue on. I tell them which way to go. I help them find their way. I comfort them when they are lost. For a while, I thought I was the only bent tree. I only see me around here. It never dawned on me that there would be others. One day, a man came with a young child. The child had never seen a bent tree like me before. I felt so proud to be bent. The child wanted to sit on me, play on me, and lay on me. The man was kind to let him have his fun, but then he asked a question. "What direction does the tree point?" he said to the boy. "That way," the boy pointed. The man nodded in agreement. "Then that is the way we will go," the man said. "How far will we go?" said the boy. "We will continue in that direction until I see the next bent tree," said the man. I couldn't believe it. The next bent tree? There wasn't only me? How many are there out there to see? I have never seen another bent tree, but now I know that they are out there. I am not alone. They are not alone. We are connected beyond what we understand, and as much as I would love to understand it all, I know I can't. But I do know that I can share in the joy of knowing there is beauty in being a bent tree. I am bent on purpose.
Nice. Great. Identity. So aware, this tree.
Yeah.
Philosophical and like optimistic. Probably he's okay being the only one, this is not a desperation.
Right.
But then to hear that there's others,
it's a surprise.
And it's nice. It's not like, I thought I was the only one. There's never that.
Mm-mm.
It's all positive. It's like, I am not alone. They are not alone. It's a great line. What you give someone.
Yeah.
That's a children's book right there too. This is where I'm just at. But you could just see there's like nice lessons that we can all kind of take and get.
Right.
And the dialogue, pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a bit of that just with these voices, or maybe a conversation. That's nice to get in there.
Well, and to highlight the legend of the bent trees, and there are several to notice in the garden. That there is this purpose that the indigenous people used them to get to where they needed to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they were bent in a certain direction to lead people to a food source or a water source.
Okay, it's like a marker.
And exactly.
Nice.
And so just to highlight that legend for us all to know that maybe there is direction and we don't often see it.
Yeah. That's so cool.
We would just say, oh, that tree looks different, and
right.
not wonder more than that.
Yeah.
But maybe also are there other markers, there signals in our lives, especially when we're walking amongst grief and loss that we miss.
Yeah. Really cool. I'm glad you pointed that out. I mean, shaped by humans, there's a little bit of like, okay, we're going to make a little cairn here from a tree and it'll grow a certain way. And so after we're gone, there will always be this point where people, that's really cool. Yeah. So grief and loss. Do you have one that's like, I mean, I know there's probably a lot, but do you want to read one that's very grief forward? I don't know, like where
it's a little more focused, clear.
Maybe, I don't know. I think that'd be a good subject to talk about with you being an expert, with your work and your experiences.
Yeah.
Hospice. This is 91.7 KIBH FM Seward Sound Words. And we're also on YouTube at Sacktown. Katherine Haghighi is here sharing from her new book, The Inner Landscapes of Grief, which she created as artist in resident last summer at the Alaska Botanical Garden. Book just came out here April 1st. So brand new words and photos.
Yeah. one of the I think one of the hard things about grief and loss that I hear and have experienced myself is that you kind of just don't know, like, what do I do with this? You know,
Yeah.
this is a mess, you know,
Right.
and it's kind of hard to comb through. But part of this work touches on how we as humans try to contain the grief, like it's separate from ourselves. Like, you know, like I've got this container over here
Yeah.
that is separate from me, and I'm going to deal with it, and then it's going to be gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Or I could just close the lid on it and just never go to that container.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think one of the interesting aspects of containing feelings or something physical, like a container you can just stick a lid on, is then what? You know, then
Right.
what do I do with it?
Right.
And how do I just stick it on a shelf?
Yeah.
Does it ever go away? Is it going to hang out there? And all of those questions. And that's where this whole outer and inner landscapes piece really started to come through.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, like explore the other ways. You know, maybe you don't even have a container. You know, right? It doesn't have to be the container way. There are other ways. And I was reading a little on your website. You know, there's only what we know to do next. You know.
Yeah.
To go on. I think I'm kind of going there. And then
Yes.
your next may be totally different than mine, you know?
Right.
So like the container
right.
may work for one person, may work a little bit. I think you got to open that a little bit. I don't know. But for someone else, you know, no container. Like there's a whole, you know, you hear that like no right way, no wrong way, you know, so I think it's a very worthy topic to share. You know, you've done so much person to person work, right? That like first person share, but to be able to capture in a book, and then who knows where this lands, you know, as far as like who gets someone interested in plants, someone who visits the garden, and then because you did the residency and because of your background and your interest, I'll call it, in grief, you know, that someone could really get something out of that, like unknowingly, you know, because everyone deals with grief sooner or later, you know, and hard to prepare for. But I mean, if you could do that, hey, that's helpful. But I just think it's really awesome that you put it down in a book and now it's in the world, and you know, you can share beyond what you know, what you share like this or what have you, you know, looking at somebody, it's like, it's just, I imagine that feels really good to be like, you know, my take on things to a degree, and with the garden there as part of it is out there. People can find it, and people can get something valuable from it.
Right, exactly. And it's interesting you said a place to land, because there's a piece in here called that, which I'll read. But I found it fascinating how connected a garden space, or even like state parks or national parks, municipal parks, there's always these places that people land. So you've got benches, you've got logs that are sitting around, you got all kinds of places for people to actually physically land. You know? But at the botanical garden, as are at many botanical gardens throughout the world, there are memorial benches. You know, they have little placards that say this is in memory of someone, or there's their favorite quote, or their favorite story, or one of them at our botanical garden has a little quote from the Little Prince.
Cool.
You know, like, so there's so many different ways that people are remembered.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting in all of those benches, or at least 14, 15 benches throughout the park. And then, of course, even gardens that are named after people within the garden, you know, like an herb garden that's named after someone, or Lily's garden. Yeah. So this place to land concept was one that really came forward. And in the spring, we had a little bit of a late spring last year, if you remember, that there were a lot of trees that were still exposed because leaves weren't fully bloomed yet. And a place to land came to mind from one of these benches. Today the light does not leave us. It is long, lingers and laughs at us trying to sleep. Even though the sun is not shining, only a hushed dusk will visit the trees tonight. Do they care? Do they notice? Do they wonder why the birds continue to sing? Do they search for why? Maybe. Maybe it is on this full day they celebrate their existence, taking in all that they can, their leaves clapping for the light maintaining its stretch and for the moon's gravitational pull. Maybe the solstice is the day the trees stand the tallest in the Taiga. There is no need to reach to the east or bow to the west. This is the day to be in full mountain pose towards the sky. And what is there for the dead trees that continue to stand in the forest? How do they meet the light? What do they wish for when the wind lets them stand? Well, they offer something that all beings are looking for, but many do overlook. They offer a place to land, a place to perch, a place to stand. This is more important than we may think, for it is only when we have a place to land are we able to access all that is around us. Pause, take in the beauty, and see what is possible for us. This place to land is a place to be. Where is your place to land? Where is your place to see? Where is your place to be? Maybe it is only when we have a place to land we are able to assess all that surrounds us, pause and take in the beauty, and see what is possible.
Nice. Place to land. A lot of questions. I like that. Big ones there at the end. I'm getting this idea of slow down,
Yeah.
There's life is rich. There's a lot to pay attention to kind of just be in, let it hit you. Is this kind of a way to, would place to land be like a good kind of prompt, or you hand that to someone who's dealing with grief, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that what a lot of these are? Just kind of, you're not being you're not do this, it's not intended, because you can't do that, but it's right. Hey, here's a nice mood with maybe a little suggestion. You're very subtle, which is really nice. It's no way my way is the right way or anything like that. It's very just putting some nice chances, that someone can interpret on their own, it's kind of surrounding them with this peaceful atmosphere and this, it's okay to not know. And,
Yeah.
So each of these pieces, if you're grieving, this is good reading material.
And it's one way that maybe keeps it, I guess one way that offers nature as a way to learn about how we're feeling or approaching our own grief.
Yeah.
And what are the suggestions that nature might offer us?
Right.
And so these are just kind of scattered in here to say, when you do slow down and take a breath, what does nature offer to us? I mean, living and dying is all around in nature.
Right.
Every season,
right.
You see something change, which is not unlike our own lives. And so if we can learn from that, even in the subtlest little example, there's another piece that just speaks so subtly to inside of a dead tree.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, this is a stump of a dead tree, and that's what it is, and we walk by.
Yeah.
But if we really look inside of that tree, there's these mushrooms and just all these little fungi. I mean, there's stuff growing everywhere, and life amidst this dead tree, right?
Right.
So it's the possibilities, I guess, right? It's the possibilities that nature offers us to say, okay, I am still here and I'm still living.
Yeah.
And so much is still possible.
Yeah. There's a great message. Yeah. I mean, life goes on, right? That's kind of and here it is in the forest, things die, but in that is an opportunity for more life to come. You're around. If you just put yourself in that cycle, it's around you. I don't know. I think that can bring some
Right.
something better than what you had before going out in the forest, like sitting in
Yes.
your room, getting stuck in the same thoughts.
Right. It changes the story a little bit because the
Yeah.
story is always changing in the
Yeah.
nature that's around us.
Yeah.
So it isn't a how-to
Right.
book.
Yeah.
It is more just this little scattering of
Yeah.
kind of the magic that happens
Yeah.
in the environment that surrounds us that can also happen
Yeah.
within.
Yeah. I like that. Lyrical exploration. It's not a how-to. It's a, yeah. I think how-to with grief would be a tough one. Tough to take on.
Yeah.
But
well, and it keeps us in our head, right?
Right.
And hopefully nature gets us out of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I can see why you were interested in doing the trail mix journal now, hearing about, your experience in the gardens and just how, you're really aware, nature's a big part of your life as far as,
Right.
the work you've done and just personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's always good if we don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah. That is good. Yeah. Right. Yeah. How do you do that?
Slowing down
Right.
one step at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. Just go on a hike and get lost in it, right? Or go to a place and kind of be open to feeling however it's going to make you feel. To kind of, I don't know, Rosie and I, we just talked about like that luck of living in Alaska, and just going on a walk, going outside always works. Like you feel crappy, go outside. You're never going to feel worse from that. Like it's always going to do a little something. It's not going to cure you, but it's just a step in the right direction as far as like switching it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gives it it just can shift.
You get surprised by a boulder
You do.
there, or, some cool bird, or the weather changes, the light hits a certain way. I mean, it's like endless, as far as how nature can change.
And I think we get curious when we're outside.
Right.
So when we see something and you say, gosh, I forgot that when I see these forget-me-nots, that they grow in a community. And as do we as humans, right? We're in a community. I should remember that I'm part of this larger community of flowers that I live with, of people. And the forget-me-nots remind us all the time. They're in huge clumps, everywhere. And what messages are out there for us to take in.
Gotcha. So you do a lot of that, like that metaphor with nature and how it relates to people, community. That's cool.
Yeah.
And that could be a good source of writing for sure. Awesome. So what are you, what projects, what are you writing about or thinking
What's
about?
next,
What are you kind of,
we shall
got
see.
some new publications
We
here.
shall
You've got
see,
some momentum.
I think what this piece gets me curious about is we're looking at the boreal forest and this garden that's within it. What would happen if we look at marine environment, glacial environment, and other writing can come out of that. So
I saw on your website this was kind of a cool trivia question. I thought your series of short books highlighting each of Alaska's 4 environments. And I tried to not look and be like, all right, what are those?
Well, I think there's actually 7. But,
okay.
But if we look at the main 4,
okay.
If we look at marine environments, the boreal forest, the tundra, and our glaciers.
And rainforest you had listed there too. Is that the same?
Yeah, the rainforest. And that butts up to the boreal forest. So we have some separates there. That's one of the 7. Yes.
So glaciers. So we got two more maybe. What else?
Yeah, we'll see.
Mountain, alpine. Well, that's like tundra.
That's like tundra. Oh wow, yeah, good trivia question.
That's
here.
Okay.
I should have had them ready to roll off my tongue.
That's all right. We can leave the listener with something, or they're shouting them at the screen right now, guys. But that's pretty cool. I love that. And so I also saw, we have some more time. I don't know. Do you want to talk about Live Joy Community? You're kind of
sure.
Yeah, that seemed like a really cool project that's going on right now.
Right, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Live Joy is a program that I work with a colleague of mine out of British Columbia. And the community is an online community that started during COVID. That is really to remind us of the joy that we do have access to at any time. The community is free and anyone can join it. we have various postings, articles, references to music, videos, all kinds of things that are available under various categories. When you're feeling like fearful or worrisome or something's happening in life, and you can go to that space and say, oh gosh, I just need a little something. I need the reminder. And so that is great access of information and resources. And then underneath the LiveJoy free community, we have some paid programs where people want to meet with us on a weekly basis. Susan and I have Zoom calls where we chat about various topics each month.
Oh, cool.
So embracing your light. It might be expanding into new spaces when we want to try something new, dealing with various challenges. There's different themes each month of the year.
Yeah.
And we just talk about it. We kind of do some exercises together and talk about it, always arriving back at joy.
Cool.
Joy and living that to its fullest potential. And that LiveJoy community came out of actually a group that we did together that was specifically in regards to grief, called Crossing the Rivers. And the group of people that were participated in that came to a spot of like,
we want more.
we're doing pretty good right now. So
nice.
What could be next?
Yeah.
So we said, all right, let's create something around joy.
Oh, cool.
And living that more fully.
That's a cool bridge,
So yes,
that people who had to cross the river, now it's time for joy.
Time for joy.
That's a good message.
Yeah. And it's really been fun because Susan and I are very joy focused and also able to sit with the hard and the heavy. Because I think it's kind of this balance, right? We all have hard and heavy things in life. And when we actually fully feel those, we can also fully feel that joy. It's kind of like one I
remind myself that,
all
right, this is rough, but if you didn't feel rough, because I know when it feels good,
I really appreciate the joy.
You wouldn't really be alive as much. I wouldn't feel as,
exactly.
Wouldn't have as much to write.
Right.
But wouldn't feel, like it's good to feel. Like I remind myself that when things are rough, just like, wow,
And our capacity only widens.
Yeah.
When we can see both ends of that continuum, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dig it. Yeah, this is great. We're gonna talk some more.
All right.
Like we got it now.
Yeah.
So
that's right. Absolutely.
We have a little more time. What else would you like to? I guess I could say I want to do a couple announcements about stuff going on in town. Why don't you think of like a little something else you want to share? I do have another question that I could go to that I'm kind of curious in. So, this is Seward Soundwords on 91.7 KIBH FM Seward. Katherine Haghighi is our guest today, here from Anchorage, sharing from her book, The Inner Landscapes of Grief, and from the Trail Mix Journal, where she wrote a wonderful poem and story essay about the Trail of Blue Ice in Portage. And we haven't had a show in a while, so great to be back. And Katherine, it's been awesome sitting with you. So we do have a lot of stuff going on in town that I do just want to hit on quick. There's a poetry festival coming up here. Shauna Pataki has been working hard, but I know it's a passion project for her too. She has launched a Seward Poetry Festival, which is amazing. So I'm pretty sure we got poems on coffee cups going on in town right now. Small poems when you get a cup of coffee from a local shop, have a poem on it. And then there's going to be a reading at the library on Saturday, April 27th. This has been a tradition now for several years, but she's putting like a festival around it with some more things. So that reading will be something. There should be a student showcase, which is always really special. We got a lot of talented writers of all ages in this town, so people will be sharing their work. And then Sandra Wassley from Anchorage as well is going to be down as the featured poet. So that'll be the next episode of this show, and she'll be doing a talk and reading, and we'll be honored. And there's some other fun stuff going on too. But we have a poetry festival thanks to Shauna Pataki, and the plan is to just have this every year in April, which is National Poetry Month. So love that. Try to get involved with that. It's very inclusive, to all new writers. Certainly hearing the reading would be something. Then also at the library, I just want to get a quick note on Res Bay chapbooks. We have a new chapbook project. Chapbook is a small pamphlet style book that we are going to be putting out through the library, local books. If you want to make a book of any kind, poems, essay, comic, something just totally odd, but you want to put something out there to share with the community, the library can make it happen. And it's really exciting. We're looking to get the first batch of books out in May, and then we're going to be putting those out as they come in into the future is the plan. Sue Drover kind of captaining the ship there, making the books at the library. Really exciting, open to all ages, all Seward writers or a writer outside of Seward writing about Seward. Got to have the Seward be on display at the library so visitors can go and read your chapter. Get one as well, a few copies, but really excited about Senior Center Writers Group has been strong as ever. They'll be turning out some chapbooks as well. So yeah, lots to be excited about. Farmers Market is going to be back, and we're going to be doing open mic there a bit as well. So chances to share words. Yeah, we're doing good. Hey, gets the radio show back on track, which I'm very grateful for. It's been great sitting with you, getting to meet you.
Likewise. Thank you for the opportunity.
Definitely. What else would you like to, how do you want to wrap up here? Is there anything else you want to, did you read everything you want to read? You want to read a piece?
Yeah, I can do a last piece, I guess.
Cool.
Short here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to, so let's have that. We'll do like you read that and then I'll press stop. That would be something.
All right.
But I wanted to ask, we're trying to always inventing different ways to do things, seeing what hits. I think that's kind of cool. But I wanted to ask, think of like next project, just your work as a hospice musician. The term is like a music therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
I feel like that could be really cool to kind of capture in writing, to reflect back on. Of course this is a very personal thing. You're with people and it wouldn't go there, but just like that kind of work. And I don't know, is that like something that you've thought about kind of reflecting on in writing and spending some time?
Great question. Yes. And actually this project of Inner Landscapes kind of kicked that one off for a little while. So that I'm going to be revisiting it again. So
great. So that's
a project that I've been working on for probably too long.
No, that's fine. I got those too. Yes, definitely. Those are good ones. Yes.
It's marinating.
So that's like a secret, I think. I'm just good, like writers, who've met up and put out the good books, like they don't necessarily say this was a 20-year project, but it is, or a long time, because it's awesome. So the long projects are come out good.
Marinate for quite a long time. Yes.
Yeah.
So one of the marinating projects does reflect the hospice work that I did with people in regards to the music.
Yeah.
And each of the chapters has a story of a patient that I work with.
Yep.
Of course, some of the details are changed,
Right. Yeah.
But the intention of it is to share the power of music.
Yeah.
At the end of someone's life.
Yeah.
And how much it changed their experience or their family's experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the years, the 15 years that I did hospice work, how that changed my life and what decisions I made, or, even moving to Alaska way back in 2007, like that's
what I moved here too.
The things, I saw that.
Yeah.
The things that shift our lives so much that you think, okay, I'm doing this way because of what a patient taught me way back when. So it's kind of an exploration of learning, but also sharing of this power of music with patients that wrote songs that were touched by music in some way, that they played themselves.
Yeah.
One gentleman wanted to produce his own radio show, so we did that at the end of his life.
Wow.
Just those magic moments of feeling how different music is touching different people.
Yeah.
And how that can be a gift.
That's awesome. I feel that totally.
Yeah.
Music can do that, be like oh, maybe I won't cry today, like with grief when you're crying a lot. And then,
Yeah.
certain songs like, yep,
Something comes, yep,
definitely.
there it's back
Yeah,
again.
yeah, right.
Right.
Here we go. Lean into this. Yeah,
Yes.
it's powerful.
Yeah.
And I even like in the, like when a song's written really well, like let's say outside of grief, I'm just before, or just going along. Like when a song is like really written really well and like speaking to me, like I'll just kind of get kind of emotional just hearing it. It's not an emotional song necessarily. It's just like perfect.
Yes.
Or just like they're really putting themselves out. It's like just speaking to me, and I'm not necessarily expecting it. And I'll be like singing and I'm just like
what's happening?
voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think music can really do that. I mean, art, but music maybe the most of any art as far as like just.
It does really, so many physical aspects of our own bodies respond to music in different ways and different instruments, especially if it's live. I mean, it can make a huge impact on us. And when patients are writing their own music, that itself.
I mean, that must be so nice for them to have a project, like this is what I'm doing today.
This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm leaving for my loved one.
Yeah,
or this is a gift for later. This is how I want them to remember me. Those types of things that it just speaks in a whole new way.
Yeah.
And then also to see someone totally enjoy just moving a finger across an instrument and feeling that vibration is the best. I mean, that's really what life's all about right there. It's just those moments of joy, no matter how small they are.
Right.
For someone to breathe a little easier because they're more relaxed.
Yeah, and maybe some of these people are no longer talking, not really awake all that much, but they can touch the, and feel a little something or hear the song.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is coming back into the realm here. That's great.
Yeah, I love the idea for that project. I think that's
right. And that one's really focusing on it's called, the project is called We All Die. Becoming Who We Are in the Meantime.
Oh, nice.
The becoming part is really in all those little moments where we say, in the meantime, I'm dealing with this disease, I'm dying, but in the meantime, I wrote a whole book of choir songs for my church, as one patient did. Or in the meantime, I was able to produce this radio show. It's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Really cool, Katherine. I look forward to hearing how that one develop and talking to you again as that continues. Yeah. Thanks. That seems like a perfect match for the artist and again, just like worthwhile, I think that's something as a writer. I mean, you're in a good zone here as far as, this is what I need to do.
Yes, no question.
Yeah, there's no great work.
Thank you.
All right. So do you have a piece to close on? And then I'll see if I can time it well. Thank you all for joining us here today on Seward Sound Words, here with Katherine Haghighi. 91.7 KIBH FM Seward's Public Radio.
This one's entitled Part of. Inner and outer landscapes are part of and not separate from one beautiful landscape, informing each other at all times, even when we are not aware of it. But when we are taken care of because it all belongs, life, death, and everything in between. Nature offers the gift of a symphony of sights and sounds in a landscape before our eyes. Our inner landscape presents us with our own masterpiece that accompanies the view of the world from our eyes. We hear the harmonies when we recognize their connection. Grief is described as ugly, grotesque, and bare. It is avoided, covered up, and pushed away, much like strip-mined land, all used up, nothing left. Excavating, to most people, is to just dig a deeper hole. A hole so deep the bottom cannot be seen. A hole so deep we may not make it back. A hole so deep that it is a grave. But to excavate can also mean to reveal or extract by carefully removing earth. If we reveal carefully, what does the earth offer? If we extract extract gently, what might we find? A wisp of old man's beard on a fallen branch, a heartstone in a creek bed, a devil's club shoot ready for snapping. All are there, but may not be obvious at first glance. At first glance, we may not see the drip of water dancing down a lady's mantle's leaf, taking a bow when it reaches the tip. At first glance, we may not notice our breath slowly being released as we find one more morsel of patience. At first glance, we may not notice or mind our mind saying yes to a helping hand. And at first glance, we do not notice all the little moments of beauty that are there for us throughout the day. Looking back, we can connect those moments to create the most beautiful boreal biome. And over time, well, you are creating a universe.
Beautiful. I cannot find the cursor. Do you want to try to?
Okay. Oh my.
You did your part.
Oh my gosh. Funny, huh?
Yeah. Well, this one will be edited, and we'll know where to cut it.
Yeah, where did the cursor go? Don't you just want to touch it?
Right. Yeah, I know. Do that. Sometimes there's another mouse. Well.
Wonder if we do.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. There it is. It's right above the. There. See it there? Your microphone. Here. It's right
Yeah.
there,
Nicely
but I can't
done.
pull it down.
Okay.
There.
Katherine Haghighi with the producing side as well. Thank you all so much. We did it. I was going to just walk out and leave it open. Thank you so much. This is great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
One more.